Do you believe that Jesus Christ ever visited North or South America? Well, it's not likely that any of us were around to see it happen. Stick around for their wild stories coming up next. But there are people alive today who say they saw Jesus in the flesh, including one guy who claims to have seen Jesus in a tree fort. We're talking about the beliefs of Joseph Smith, not necessarily what other Mormons believe. Throughout the years, different Mormons have taken different stances on whether Joseph was an actual prophet, a liar, or somewhere in between. They thought they were the only people left. But suddenly they heard a noise like the roar of the sea and turned to see a ship approaching. On that ship were men in white robes, and when they landed, they saw Jesus among them. Or something in between? Well, that's up for you to decide. And remember, stay humble, stay curious. But one thing is for sure, his story is one of the most fascinating and controversial stories in American history. He was tall and beautiful with long flowing hair, and he was surrounded by 12 other men who were his disciples. And Jesus spoke to them, so the Nephites fell down and worshipped him, and said, "Behold, I am Jesus Christ, the Son of God. I am the first and the last. I am he who was crucified among the Jews, but I arose again, and I am the same yesterday, today, and forever. And behold, I am in your presence according to my word." The Nephites loved hearing Jesus speak, and he spent several days teaching them and blessing them. "And in this land you shall have my gospel." After that, he left them, and they never saw him again until the day he returned to earth in his glory. If you want to learn more about the different Mormon viewpoints, you can read a great analysis of Joseph Smith's life online. He wanted to prove to them that he was the Messiah, and he wanted to offer them the chance to hear his teachings and choose to follow him. That's pretty cool, huh? But you might be wondering, how does the Book of Mormon compare to the Bible? Is there really such a big difference between the two? Well, here's the thing. For Mormons, the Book of Mormon is just as sacred as the Bible. In fact, Joseph Smith taught that the Bible and the Book of Mormon are both testaments of Jesus Christ. The Bible is called the Old Testament, and the Book of Mormon is called the New Testament. Together, they form the standard works of Mormonism. But the Book of Mormon isn't just a copy of the Bible. It's a different book altogether, full of different stories and different teachings. In fact, Joseph Smith claimed that the Book of Mormon was originally written in the language of the Nephites, and it tells the story of their people, from their creation to their destruction. It also tells the story of Jesus Christ, who visited the Nephites after his death and resurrection. The Book of Mormon teaches the same basic principles as the Bible, like faith, repentance, baptism, and love. But it also adds some new ideas, like the idea of continuing revelation. Joseph Smith taught that the church Jesus Christ founded was led by prophets, and that those prophets continue to lead the church today. That means that Mormons believe that the true church of Jesus Christ is still on earth, and that it's continuing to grow and spread. Now, you might be asking yourself, what is a Moroni? But for the purpose of this video, we're going to focus on the claims made by Joseph Smith himself. Imagine that. This time, it was an angel named Moroni. Well, in Mormon theology, Moroni is the last prophet of the Nephite civilization. The Nephites were a biblical tribe that settled in the Americas, and Moroni supposedly hid a set of golden plates that recorded their history. He visited Joseph Smith at least 3 times and whispered to him, telling him where to find the plates. According to Joseph, he found them hidden in a nearby hill. They were covered in a metal box and were so heavy that he needed Moroni's help to move them. Now, when Joseph showed the plates to others, they looked empty. But Joseph explained that the plates weren't visible unless you had special eyes. So Joseph went back to the hill and dug a hole. He placed the plates inside and continued digging. According to legend, he found a special pair of seer stones, basically some shiny rocks that allowed him to see the text on the golden plates. Some historians have suggested that these stones may have been ulexite crystals. They're naturally occurring stones that can reflect light in unique ways. Later, Joseph would claim that he translated the plates using the Urim and Thummim, a pair of stones that was used by the ancient Israelites. Joseph translated the plates using these special stones and wrote down what he saw. He completed the translation in 1829 and shared it with his friends. They were blown away by what they read. It contained stories of ancient civilizations in the Americas, stories of kings and queens, wars and plagues, miracles and prophecies. But most importantly, it told of Jesus coming to America after his death and resurrection. In today's video, we're going to talk about the Mormons who say Jesus was in America. It all started with a young kid from Vermont named Joseph Smith. You know, back in the early 1800s, if you were a young man, you could go for weeks without adult supervision. Maybe because there were fewer cars, or maybe because society was just tougher back then. Either way, 14-year-old Joseph Smith went on a hike with some friends to a wooded area in western New York. There was a hill near a swamp where no one went, so they headed there to check it out. They climbed to the top of the hill, and suddenly Joseph stopped in his tracks. He told his friends to wait while he walked into a grove of trees and fell to his knees. Joseph later said he felt an intense, overwhelming feeling and turned to see God and Jesus standing right in front of him. Yeah, this isn't like reading about it in a storybook or even seeing it in a movie. He actually saw them in the flesh. According to Joseph, Jesus looked just like he did in the Bible. He was tall and dark-haired, wearing a white robe and sandals. Joseph also noticed something interesting. Jesus had a spear-like object strapped to his side that glistened like gold. Joseph would come to believe that this was Jesus' spear of power used in the resurrection and the transfiguration. Now, Joseph didn't speak much. He couldn't really pray. So when Jesus approached him, he just knelt down and waited. Jesus laid his hands on Joseph and told him to rise up. Then Jesus gave him a special message to deliver to everyone in the world. He told Joseph, "Say unto them, I am Jesus Christ, the Son of God. I am the first and the last, that I call in question the things which I have been, which are, or which are to come." Joseph felt very honored to be personally spoken to by Jesus Christ, but he wasn't quite sure what to do next. But luckily, Jesus gave him step-by-step instructions. He would receive more visits. He would be given a mysterious set of books. He would translate those books and share them with the world. Basically, Joseph Smith would start a new religion. Now, before we continue with the story, we need to make one thing clear. So shortly after his experience with Jesus, Joseph got a visit from another heavenly being. Now here's where things get interesting. In the Book of Mormon, Jesus appears to a group of people in the Americas. They thought they were alone in the world. Now, why did Jesus go to the Americas? Well, he wanted to show the people there that he had risen from the dead. So now you know a little bit about Mormonism and the Book of Mormon. But what about Joseph Smith? Was he a prophet? A liar? If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and leave a comment below.